Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 21st of January, 2015. Speaking of 15, this is 15 Minutes of Frame. I'm Nick Frame. And today we're actually going to just talk about me. I've been reading comments both on YouTube and things getting tweeted to me. People want to know who I am. Why should they listen to me? Hopefully, if you've checked out the other episodes, you've at least gotten a bit of a feel for how I think and how I do things. But really, knowing who I am and how I do stuff is kind of important. And so we're going to explore that a bit today. So let's start at the beginning. I've been playing video games most of my life. As a child, I was born back in the late 70s, so early 70s, or early 80s, I should say. First exposure really to video games. I'd see the occasional arcade machines in businesses, and friends of the family had Ataris, and so I'd always like going over and playing on the Atari. Playing Pac-Man was probably my favorite game of very early childhood. Going into elementary school was when the Nintendo released, and Nintendos were $200 to $300 at the time, which in modern money is closer to $500 to $600. And family couldn't afford one initially. They found an Atari with Mario Brothers on sale and thought that was roughly equivalent. Mario Brothers was the old arcade game that predated Super Mario Brothers. Very different gameplay. But that was my first home console. We had computers that, compared to modern computers, it's hard to call them a computer at this point. Move my soda out of frame. But they would play very simple ASCII games. They weren't even running DOS. The first computer we had. Eventually, we got DOS computers, 8088s, and then 286s, 386s. Eventually, we did get a Nintendo. For my bar mitzvah, when I turned 13, I got a Super Nintendo. And, gaming was much less of a culture back then. I subscribed to Nintendo Power. I read about a lot of video games, but it was a hobby. It wasn't, it was something to do after homework or on the weekend for a few hours before my parents ran me off. And it was something to do in lieu of watching cartoons. But it wasn't nearly the culture that we have today. But even back then, it was something that I really enjoyed. It was something that I wanted to explore further as I grew. By the time I got to high school, I was very much a PC gamer. Wolfenstein and Doom had brought FPSs to the computer. I remember playing Duke Nukem 3D online by calling one of my friends in high school, and modem to modem, direct connection, just two-person, and getting stomped. But even then, the technology was growing, and we could see where it was going, but it wasn't quite there. And coming out of high school, I wanted to go into computer science because I thought that would be the best way to make video games, but I had no aptitude for it. I spent a lot of my early college, playing games like Diablo, playing StarCraft when it came out. Best StarCraft memory was I was actually working for Paragon Cable, which eventually became Time Warner, in El Paso, trying to sell cable modems, back when everybody was so used to AOL and dial-up. over trying to do so via telemarketing. That didn't go very well. But my coworkers and I decided to do multiplayer in StarCraft, the original StarCraft when it first launched, and being able to just raffle stomp people because we had the bandwidth to have a voice chat going. Very early precursors to Ventrilo and TeamSpeak. Because those didn't exist, because on dial-up you really didn't have the bandwidth to do that sort of thing. But we were pretty terrible. I eventually got back into console gaming after taking a job at Blockbuster, and especially once I moved into their Game Rush department, which was their attempt to emulate GameStop. And that was during the ending of the PS2 Xbox era and the beginning of the 360 PS3 era. I was there when the DS launched and the PSP launched, and left about when the DS finally started actually taking off and the PSP started to nosedive. And then a couple of years later I started at Blizzard. And that's what a lot of you have been wondering about. I was a game master from June of 2007 through November of 2012. I started basically just before patch 2.2. So Black Temple had just launched when I started, and I left in early Mist of Pandaria. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but there's a lot I can't talk about. I signed contracts. I take those very seriously. I know not everyone does, but I think it's important that if you're going to work in an industry where corporate secrets are so important, that you demonstrate that you can keep said secrets. And so while I have information about early development stuff in things like Overwatch and Hearthstone and how they came to be, it's not really appropriate for me to discuss those without permission. So my initial contact with Blizzard, I started mostly trolling the customer service forum and helping people out there, and I got encouraged to apply, and so I did, and I got picked, and I interviewed. I was living in the DFW area at the time, and drove down to Austin, and it was really my first trip to Austin. And I went to the address that they had provided me, and it was this corporate industrial park type area. The old Blizzard building in Austin was in a really terrible part of Austin. And there was no signage there, and even in the current building there's no signage. EA has signage, NCSoft has signage, Blizzard does not have signage in Austin. But I found the building, and I'm looking at the cars in the parking lot, and there's all these California license plates, and I went, aha, I'm in the right place. And they were still building. They had the physical building, but putting up partitions, building walls, installing computers. And so my interview was in the cafeteria, basically. And other people were interviewing at the same time at other tables. But I obviously did a good enough job. I got the call that I had gotten the job. The same day they announced StarCraft 2, in fact, in Korea. And so I was very excited because I thought, I'm going to start at Blizzard and I'm going to get to play StarCraft 2 immediately. Just because something's been announced doesn't mean the entire company has been playing it. Most memorable early memory, even past the interview process, was going back and my first day of training and they had two training classes, an AM and a PM, and different trainers for each. Um, but getting there, I was in the PM class, and I got there, and so the AM team was packing up, and the PM team was setting up, and all four trainers, because there were two trainers for each class, were wearing their Burning Crusade bowling shirts. If you've watched BlizzCon footage, you know they're usually wearing the bowling shirt for the current game, and I've got several of them. I'll probably wear one on Friday if I remember. Um, I don't have the Burning Crusade because I wasn't there for launch, but you know it was just really symbolic to me that okay, here's all these trainers. They're all wearing this shirt, you know, showing just how much support they had, and you know, we got so much swag that day. We got a Diablo battle chest, a Warcraft battle chest, Starcraft battle chest, copy of WoW, copy of Burning Crusade, codes for more games and free time. Got a Blizzard T-shirt. I remember we went on break and they were like, and each person gets 3 sodas. I'm like, what? Why can't we just buy as many sodas as we want to drink? No, you just push the button and a soda comes out. At the time, they could afford to do that. By the time the heyday of Blizzard CS in Austin, we had over 1,000 people there, and they had finally started charging us a bit for sodas. But it was a job. You know, it's easy to think that, oh, you're a game master, you just sit around playing World of Warcraft all day. No. You actually do a lot of work. There was, more often than not, no downtime. There were some periods where, between patches, we finally got a good enough handle on things that things had calmed down to the point where you were fighting for tickets with other people. But for the most part, you always had work. You know, and I was there February 29th, 2012, when Blizzard did the mass layoffs, and that was the roughest point, I think. Just all of your friends and colleagues. Hi, Cat. All of your friends and colleagues. This is Ale. He's the gaming kitty. And just watching them, and like coming in, really that day everybody was so in shock. But you came in the next few days, and there were just people missing. And one of the biggest things at Blizzard was, prior to that, you know, when people left the company, you got a big email saying so and so is no longer with the company. They didn't do that with the mass layoff because morale issues, I think, more than anything. And so it was one of those, well, is person sick or is person just no longer with the company, and how do I ask?